So where do we go from here? And does this week's action make NVIDIA more or less important? Tim, you get to kick us off.
Well, welcome, Courtney.
Thanks.
And, right, you said, like, making sense of this, I think that a lot of today was two dynamics that I think aren't totally obvious. I think the data that we got this morning was really a big part of this, even though there was no headline data pieces. You had an S&P, essentially inflation gauge. You had a dynamic in terms of University of Michigan, where you had some dynamics around 5 to 10 year expectations on the consumer side, and they're the highest they've been since 1995. And then you look at some of the composite PMIs, and you look at where we are in real terms. They came in significantly slower. So there was kind of slower growth. We had bad housing data, and all of it feeds through on inflation. You add that to, I think, there was a huge options expiry today. I'm not going to tell you that was the reason. I am going to tell you I think that had something to do with the day when the VIX was up almost 20%, and you had extreme moves. In other words, if you look below the surface of the indices, it was actually a lot uglier today than it even looks on the indices, which looked pretty ugly, which you pointed out at the top of the show. I think there's dynamics next week. This weekend, we have elections in Germany, which I think are very significant given how the tone has changed towards the U.S.'s role towards protecting Europe in a post-World War II environment, and a lot of things that we never questioned, I think at least add to the backdrop of, yes, NVIDIA does feel like they need to kill it. And when you look at the Mag 7, it's been the Meh 7. I mean, it really has been. And now the one stock that people hated the most is the most defensive here. Not surprisingly, that's Apple, in an environment where people are actually punishing high growth.
I mean, Karen, does this just feel like an environment where the markets are just afraid to go long into this weekend? Tim brought up what's happening in Germany. We know we have NVIDIA next week. Obviously, the day started out pretty poor with that consumer sentiment number.
Right.
That really freaked me out about what consumers are fearing, about how they feel, and especially their inflation expectations. They believe 4.3%. That's the highest since November of 2023 for their one-year inflation outlook.
Although some of the data would be counter to that. Right.
Okay.
So, but to get to your question about is NVIDIA is it crucial for the market?
Yeah.
I actually think we've seen a broadening out. Right. We've seen financials do really well until very recently. Industrials do very well until very recently. So we've seen healthcare do very well. So I think it's not quite when it was all Mag 7 and that was it, and there was nothing else to focus on, and that was central to it, I think it was more important. I mean, I'm long NVIDIA, so I certainly care. But I think it's a little less important than it used to be, especially we've got all this other noise, macro noise, tariff noise, some of the things Tim talked about. China, which was nowhere. China's now an interesting piece. So I think it's a little less important right now.
All right.